We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
You are listening to The Underground Marketing Conspiracy, a secret ritual where entrepreneurs acquire highly classified and confidential business knowledge that the top 1% of income earners don't want you to know. And now, your host, Maddie Milligan.
What's happening, my fellow conspirator and conspirators? Welcome to the Underground Marketing Conspiracy. Woo! So, today I want to talk to you about the health of an entrepreneur. I think that a lot of entrepreneurs generally ignore this area of their lives sometimes because they're super busy, they have a million things going on, and there's only so much time that they have. But if you're in this for the long term, I think you really need to take care of your body, which is really your temple. And I'll go through the 3 different parts that I believe are health. I used to think it was just one part, then I'm like, oh, it's 2 parts, and I've recently found out about this 3rd part. And I'll tell you a quick story about how I found out about all this stuff. When I left my job in June of this year, of 2019, I didn't really get much exercise for about a month leading up to that because I was super busy planning my exit and getting all my ducks in order. And I really slacked off on my exercise, my diet a little bit, and just little health things that I would do for about 3 or 4 months. And I worked out maybe a few times. I'd be like, oh yeah, don't forget to go to the gym. And I would go, and maybe I would go a couple times a week, but I wasn't taking it seriously. But about a month and a half ago, I'm like, okay, I really need to get in shape. So I've started lifting very, very heavy recently. About 4 or 5 weeks ago, I really started. So doing all the main compound lifts like deadlifts, squats, bench press, and then just doing a lot of leg exercises as well, really to strengthen my legs, because one of my goals over the next few years is I want to buy a little piece of land and build a log cabin by myself. And sure, it's like, all right, step 1 for there might be buy a truck and then get the land and then get all the wood. But it's like, no, you need to get yourself in shape if you're going to do things like that, because I've seen a lot of these people where they try and do that stuff and they're completely out of shape and they go and fail. I remember when I worked construction a few times back in the day in my early 20s, after the first few days, I was done. When I did door-to-door sales, after those first few days, I was done. And then I would take a couple of days off, rest, recuperate, and I'd come back even stronger. And I think a lot of the time we underestimate what the human body is really capable of. So I'll give you 3 really quick things that I would focus on. So number 1 would be moving your body. Like, this is a no-brainer. So I've heard that sitting is the new smoking. A lot of people talk about this, where we're sitting so much, we're not moving, we're not getting our blood flowing. So because of doing that and not moving, you're not maximizing your metabolism, you're not getting your blood pumping, your brain could be working a little bit better, your cardiovascular could be greatly improved. So moving is super important, whether that's walking, running, surfing. I like to do a little bit of cardio. Like, I like hiking. That's been something I've really been doing. I'll wake up super early with one of my friends who lives by, and we'll go through these hikes through the Don Valley and near the Don River, and it's very relaxing. It's the only part of nature really that's in the city of Toronto, and it's winter too, so there's usually not that many people in there, and it's just absolutely gorgeous, honestly. Going through when there's snow, it's super silent. So, but that's what I do. And in the summer, I go cycling as well. I'm a very avid cyclist, fix all my own bikes. I own 9 or 10 bikes right now, which is super embarrassing, and I think 7 of them work, and then I'm building the other 3. So yeah, I'm going to be selling a lot of those bikes coming up next year once they're all ready to go. But having something where you're moving your body is super important. Again, walking, running, cycling, those are the main ones. Doing some sort of, maybe at the gym, you can use an elliptical or a treadmill or a stationary bike, just moving your body. And then I also like to do a little bit of weightlifting. So this again is just allowing a lot of blood to go into your muscles, and this is something where the way weightlifting works and muscle building works is you basically go in, you rip your muscle, so you put a lot of strength on it, you rip it a little bit, and Then from there, you feed it the right nutrients, right? So the main things like right amounts of protein, right amounts of fats, right amount of carbohydrates. Then that gradually builds up the muscle. But going to the gym once and lifting weights once isn't going to do anything. It's something you need to do consistently. You need to do a lot of movements and focusing on how you're using the weight as well. Because I see all these bro science guys at the gym and they're trying to lift as heavy as possible. But I really like to focus on the up movement, but the down movement forwards, right? So they call this eccentric and decentric. So for example, if I'm doing deadlifts, right, where you're picking something up, the eccentric motion would be picking up the weight. The decentric would be letting it go back to the ground. So I like to do like a pace of 1-2 up, so it's fast, and then very slowly down. And one thing is, because I used to lift pretty heavy back in the day, your ego will get in the way. You'll be like, oh, let's just add a little bit more weight. The trick is to watch your ego when you do that stuff and step in and be like, no, we're good. Like, I don't need to lift as heavy as everyone else here. You're actually going to gain more muscle when you do it slowly as well, right? Because that way you're building your muscle in both directions, right? The forward and the backwards. And do whole body workouts. Make sure you're working out your legs as well. And that's really the first step, right? Again, cardiovascular exercise, I would say, and weightlifting, like that's step one of your health and fitness. Step number two would really be your nutrition. All right. So a lot of entrepreneurs, because they're busy, they're just stuffing their face with fast food, which really isn't good for your brain. It contains a lot of sugar, a lot of bad fats, like trans fats are really not good for you. A lot of high fructose corn syrup from drinks like Coca-Cola, not good for you whatsoever. Even diet versions of those like Coke Zero, and I'm a recovering Coke addict, by the way, Coca-Cola addict. I used to drink lots of Coke growing up, which is why I was chubby until I was about 22, 23 years old, and I would eat Doritos, which are also terrible for you. They taste, in both cases, absolutely delicious. You have this sweet, saccharine, liquid beverage, and you have these delicious, salty, fatty, very good mouthfeely foods in Doritos, and they were the perfect combination for me. But I know those weren't healthy. I would always feel sick the next day after having those, and once I had them in my body, and it's just not good for you to eat those kind of foods. Same thing with any fast food companies as well, like whatever it is, McDonald's, burgers, fries, that stuff is not good for you. You can have it every once in a while as like a guilt thing. And even then, when you see a lot of these athletes in professional sports, the ones who really focus on their nutrition are going to get the best results. But at the same time, you'll see these guys and they'll look like they're in shape, but you see them crushing McDonald's. But then 10 years later, you look at them and it's like, wow, like they look not great, right? And it's definitely their nutrition. So this is where I've tried all sorts of diets myself. I mean, last year in 2018, I went vegan for practically the entire year, and I just felt it wasn't sustainable. I still eat mostly plant-based foods, but I do eat all sorts of meat as well, right? I really like to focus on fish for the most part. That's one of the main high-protein foods that I eat. I don't take any supplements right now. Like take 0 vitamins, I take 0 minerals. So that's really what I would focus on, right? Like eating all sorts of different colorful vegetables as well. In some cases, you might be allergic to certain vegetables, so this is where I think getting an allergy test at your doctor is one option. But focusing again on getting all sorts of vegetables in you. Sure, you could argue that human beings, they have canine teeth, which means that we're meant to eat meat. But I really think that human beings are carnivores. Like, we're supposed to eat whatever's close to us. So eating local food, whether, again, that's healthy vegetables and meat that hasn't been processed in any way, right, where it's been grass-fed, where it's free range, I think that's your best option if you do choose to eat meat. And again, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes just like everyone else. I have a very limited amount of willpower. So there are times when I'm going to give in and have a little bit of ice cream, right? But really having that at the forefront of your mind when you're eating out with friends. And if people call you out on that, just be like, look, like, I'm making a lifestyle change. This is me. This has nothing to do with you. You can do you, but I'm doing me by eating all this stuff, right? And really just being a little assertive with some people in some cases is very important when you are making that lifestyle change, because you will get blowback from friends, especially close friends and coworkers and people that, maybe even family members, but just like, look, like, I feel I've put on a little bit of weight or I'm not feeling optimal. So that's really what I want to do. So let's talk about part number 3. And this is where I've only really started doing a lot of this stuff recently. So this is just the kind of lifestyle you live, right? I talked about sitting before, so making sure that you're moving, that's one part of this. But I think making sure that you're getting the right amount of sunlight is very important. And I've been following a few things recently, like this light diet I've talked about in the past, and the Wim Hof method where you're getting that. I think that stuff is super effective, right? And they talk about this stuff, it's like biohacking, I believe that's what it's called, and I have this whole book about it. But I think making sure you're getting adequate sunlight is very important. I don't think humans, to be honest, I've discovered recently, are meant to wear sunglasses. I think we're meant to let the light inside of us. And someone told me about someone they knew who had cataracts. They were healthy their whole life, and then they got cataracts, and then after that their health just deteriorated in all of the aspects. And I'm like, okay, I think the cataracts are blocking light from getting in. And I think a human being, the only way it can naturally get and create vitamin D is, again, through getting direct sunlight. So I'm a weird dude, and sometimes, and this is going to sound super weird, and I've posted this on Instagram, I'll go out into a field and just stand there with my shirt off, even if it's like -10. And again, I'm not in the best shape right now, so it looks super weird, and people are like, look at this, what is this like fat dude standing in the field for with his shirt off, like when it's -10 Celsius outside? What is this dude doing? And to be honest, like, they have the full right to do that. Like, I'm a weird guy doing that, but I'm getting that, and I'm standing in direct sunlight. Once I take off my shirt, honestly, like, I feel fine. And this sounds crazy to other people, I know. Another thing I like to do is I like to do the Wim Hof method. What I've been doing recently when I haven't been jumping in the lake, because I can't jump in Lake Ontario or the Don River because they're very polluted and they have E. coli and all sorts of other things that I'm worried about. But one thing that I do is I'll go, after my workouts, I'll go into the sauna for maybe 15-20 minutes, sweat out as much as I can, and then I'll go in and take a cold shower for like 5 to 10 minutes after. So that's another thing that I do, just in terms of getting hot, getting very cold. It's very good for your body, very good for circulation. You sweat out a lot of toxins too by doing the sauna. And last thing I want to talk about is EMFs, right? Electromagnetic frequencies. So there's all these invisible frequencies that are transmitting information through all of the devices that we have, right? And I've been reading some stuff on 4G and 5G technology and how it like microwaves people, and whether that's true or not, I'm not sure, but I like to protect myself at all costs from these things. And to be honest, one of my friends once, he was like, how do you explain a lot of these frequencies? Like, how do you explain what goes to your phone? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not a very like scientific guy. I don't know. I don't know a lot of that stuff, but I can't explain it in words how it goes from some mobile tower to my phone. And I don't know how that works. So that for me, it's like, all right, there's these invisible things. They're transmitting all sorts of wavelengths, and I don't know about them. There's like Bluetooth. Obviously, there's Wi-Fi. So what I do is I minimize my time around these things. I always have a wired connection with my computer, so I'm making sure it's connected to the Ethernet, and then I turn off the Wi-Fi. So that way I'm not being exposed to that. With my phone, I never hold it close to my head. I don't do that at all whatsoever. That way I'm all about wired headphones. I do have a pair of wireless headphones, but I don't like the Bluetooth as well, especially since it's so close to my brain. I'm kind of paranoid about that stuff and how it could give me brain cancer, but that's another thing that I do as well. And when you sleep, I've started wearing these blue light blocking glasses as well. I found that at night, I just get tired a lot faster when I have them on. When I eliminate the blue and the green lights, and they're not going in, like as soon as the sun sets, I usually put them on, or if I'm in front of the computer for a long time, I'm going to put them on and wear them. And I think that's a really good way to just pass out as well, because again, when your body and your eyes see any kind of light, right, like the blue light, they're not going to produce melatonin, which is going to help you sleep. And sleep is super important, right? You need to be getting Tony Robbins says 6 or 7 hours. I think like 7, 8, 9 hours is really optimal. And you could probably just do like 6 or 7 every day per week as long as it's consistent. Sure, you're going to have those nights where you're not going to sleep as much. But I think, again, eliminating a lot of that blue light, wearing those blue light glasses is super important. And just to protect your eyes from all that stuff, but more so just to protect yourself and make sure you're producing melatonin so you can actually sleep. So, and then I think as well, there's this other thing that I read in the Ultra Mind Solution back in the day that talks about eliminating a lot of the metal objects from your room. Like not sleeping near your phone is a big thing, like having a different room. And one thing I'm going to be doing is buying this light that mimics sunlight, so it kind of lights up in the morning, and that way you just wake up naturally with the sun, and that eliminates you having your phone in your room right next to you. Also, sleeping on a wooden bed versus a metal bed is better, because obviously these metal devices, they transmit they capture a lot of these electromagnetic frequencies. So stuff like that is very important. And you might be worried as well. It's like, oh, I have this, my alarm clock. What if the power goes out or something like that? It's like, whatever, man. Like, have that phone far away from you, right? And I think for me, like, I've had 3 people in my life pass away the last few years from brain cancer. And I don't know, if I were to hazard a guess, again, this is just a guess. No science behind this, just a personal opinion. I think that in some cases they were probably exposed to a lot of EMFs, which caused their brain cancer. So I'm really trying to minimize my exposure to that as much as possible, right? When I sleep, again, I turn off my router, I turn off Wi-Fi. That way I'm not transmitting. And I always have my phone in airplane mode when I'm not using it as well. And sure, I might not get all the calls and get all the right messages, but this just allows me to be calm. And I do meditation from time to time. I don't do it for that long, maybe 5-10 minutes. I used to do it a lot more for longer periods back in the day. I just don't find that I need it as much. Like, I have these cool little Eckhart Tolle cards as well that I have on my desk, which really just they help me stay present as well. And just little lifestyle things, right? Like reading, having positive things around your life. Like, I like spending a lot of time with my brother and his girlfriend and their dog, and spending time with my mom. So spending time with family as well is a very important thing, right? Like having that you time as well, where you have time to reflect on your life and really just talk with yourself. I think that's a lot of people, because we live in such a social, busy world and there's so much stimulation, like you just need to escape and have that little conversation with yourself from time to time, right? And be like, okay, am I doing what's right for me and my health? Or am I doing this to really impress other people? But I hope that today I gave you some tips, and I hope I gave you at least one thing that you could do to improve yourself. And I'm sure there might be some stuff that I'm telling you might not have heard of or thought about before, but I think the first 2, like, you have to move, you have to eat well, you have to, and at this point I really talked about mitigating dramatically the amount of EMFs that you're exposed to on a daily basis, because I think those are very harmful to the human organism. And just a lot of other things that you could do as well, really to just help you get more sleep. If you did enjoy today's episode, I would consider subscribing to this channel wherever you are listening to this to, on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you're hearing this podcast, and maybe even consider going back and listening to a few other episodes so you can get some tips on growing your business, staying all up to date on all sorts of entrepreneurial tips and tactics as well, so that you're not left behind in 2020 and beyond. My name is Matty Milligan. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Underground Marketing Conspiracy. Woo!